Ladies and gentlemen, it is I, Tetcher, back with another Marvel Rivals Championship game. We are here in the Pacific region today, aka Asia and OCE combined into one. But before we get into it, I have a quick request for people. And that is, as you may have noticed, that I have been inviting guests onto this channel throughout a lot of these casts. There are multiple reasons for this. One, it's super fun. 2, I like making new friends. And 3, it takes a little bit of the pressure off of my voice, especially during Ignite and MRC seasons, where I'm having to be working on the official Marvel Rivals channel at the same time. Doing a solo cast, I'm obviously talking for double the time than when I have a co-caster. So the question I have for y'all is simple. Please leave it in the comments below. Who would you like to see? Simple as. I can't promise I can get everyone, but I can reach out and I can invite them. So simple as, if there is someone you'd like to see, I can't promise I'll reach out to everyone. I can't promise they'll say yes if I do, but it would at least be good to see a general perception from people as to who they would like to see on the channel jumping in for a cast with me. So let me know in the description below. But for now, let's head on into our game. We are in round 10, aka the round of 16 here in the Marvel Rivals Championship for the Pacific. Reminder that the winning 2 teams, first and second place in the Marvel Rivals Championship, will receive an invite to Ignite Stage 2. Let's head on in. We have an interesting question about that though, and that is, what happens in the Pacific region if an OCE team wins? With only 2 spots up for grabs that we've been told, but OCE and Asia combined into one region, would, for example, Harrow, an Oceanic team, if they were to win Marvel Rivals Championship or come second, would they be receiving an invite to OCE or to Asia? Or would they even get to pick? This is something I don't yet have knowledge on, so speculated about that in the comments as well. Help me feed the algorithm so these videos get more views. Let's jump on in. We're starting on Krakoa with Harrow versus Zephyr. We're starting off with that Torch and Ultron Ban, but Harrow, they will skip their Protect. This is a great way to not show your opponents what you want to pick, but it means you do lose out on the possibility to save a character you might find useful. It's almost certainly always a bit of a meh idea, potentially quite rough, to not use your Protect when it is available, but there is an argument to be made for it. I just personally don't think it's a very good one. But that's my personal opinion. We're going to be seeing the Punisher and Groot taken away. So far, the only protection is onto the Wolverine. Hela also going to be protected. We're seeing a lot of Hela in MRC, whereas compared to Ignite, we saw very little. So a little bit of adjustment between the regions there. Now, what do we see as our next Protect? We're going to see the Lunar Snow protected by Zephyr. Last ban here. So we've got Lunar Snow, we've got Wolverine. Torch is taken away, but we still have Psylocke and Captain America, for example. Something that, again, the Ignite teams use consistently, but we see so little from the MRC teams. There's that Loki taken out, though, which means the backline protection is a little bit weaker now as that regen domain has been removed. Emma Frost is also still available, so could have very quickly dropped a Silent Seduction to burn through those regeneration domain lanterns. Harrow, with their last ban, they're going to take away the Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier, classic, solid pick overall, just has really solid damage, a little bit of crowd control, the ability to target down some flyers. It's just a solid choice. We're going to see Harrow looking at that Psylocke here, but without the Captain America setup dive. So Bila is going to be creating a lot of that pressure on their own, as they're instead going to be sticking with the full mutant vibe, with Emma, Frost, Magneto, and Psylocke all together, so they're going to try and get their one-shot potential from that illusionary clone. We'll have to see how well that works for them. Let's introduce our teams, ladies and gentlemen. On the left-hand side, in the blue trunks, it is Harrow, with IX9 playing the Emma Frost, and Nev420 will be on the Magneto. Sliver is playing the Hela. Z Cotton on the Invisible Woman. Smiley Smiley. It's small text, which clearly must be whispered, but we're not doing that in the middle of the cast. They are on the Cloak and Dagger, and Mila will be on the Cylon. And on the right-hand side, in the red trunks, it will be Zephyr with Akja? Asja? Asji? Akji? I'm going to go with Asji. Asja, playing on the Star-Lord. Pam Pam is on the Invisible Woman. It's Chris, formerly from Asterix, potentially? They're going to be playing on the Lunar Snow. No Way is on the Magneto. Jaclo Wins will be on the Wolverine. These names are rough. And it's going to be Senri. Will be playing the Doctor Strange. So we're going to be jumping on board with Bila to start off here. And of course, they are going to be trying to wrap around onto the backline. Star-Lord tries to catch them. Big burst Shuriken Sweep for that setup. And they're able to target down the Lunar Snow nice and easily. Zephyr already getting wiped off the board here. No final hits so far at all for a side of Zephyr, as it's just a clean set of pickups by Harrow as they take the early control. We're going to see Wins moving over to the Iron Fist for the turnaround here. Iron Fist with a lot of extra sustain. If they can get onto someone like a Hella, they can get a really solid turnaround. Going to be starting on some of the backline, frontline. Got Terra Capes, dropped down to 40. Talon Bulwark gets them out of danger. Quick premeditation for a little bit of extra armor before they go into the backline. Just going to be making their way forward. Standard gets the deflex, which means they're going to get that faster attack, at least forwards the percentage of damage, trying to get onto the Hella to take them down early. But the Eternal Bond is making it so difficult for them to push on in here. They're just not finding the damage output. Archer up to the sky with the Galactic Ledger, but Meteor M absorbs the majority of the shot, but the Meteor M does not actually land on in. Dashing into the backline, Z, Colton Invisible Barrier keeps the team top. Unfade of both worlds about to expire for Zephyr, though, as finally we'll see Jaclo Wins going to be able to get the pickup. Quick pre-bonus health once again before they get back into the fight. Solid damage output, not in range for the quick dash, is finally able to get on. And remember that Iron Fist, one of the only two characters in the game to have percentage damage still in the game at this point to try and get onto that Hella. But the healing output is crazy good right now. Deflex to try and buy some extra time, but they are basically 1v4ing right now and just can't find the finishing blow. Smiley gets the pickup. A valiant effort, but Harrow are in control right now. They haven't given a single percentage on the board, and they're trying to take controls. Once again, Iron Fist is back. Soul Drainer. Keep him locked down. And Star-Lord sneaks on in, using the distraction. Onto the backside, he's getting some really solid damage output, but the Eternal Bond is keeping these defenders up. While Sliver is down, everyone else is sustaining onto the point here. Smiley keeping the team fully healed. Iron Fist is trying to delay something, trying to track down Invisible Woman there, but they are wiped off the board. And that is going to be Harrow taking point number 1 off map number 1 in 100% to 0 here. A convincing round. Let's have a look at the statistics. 4 total final hits by Zephyr so far. This is a solid first round from Harrow. How do we see them adjust? Zephyr need to change something, as they did just get a little bit outclassed in that first round. Now, this could be a draft problem, so how do they adjust? They're currently looking towards Spider-Man, a little bit of quicker backline potential. If the sustain isn't working, if your opponents are trying to just deal with this Iron Fist with the extra healing output and the sustain and just good teamwork, then you pick something that's faster, give them less time to react. Spider-Man might be the good choice for dealing with that. Black Panther could also fill that role. A bit of higher pressure. It's the only change they're going to make so far. So Snowflake likely onto the Star-Lord with that idle aura, as they're going to be the one doing the sustained damage. And we'll keep an eye to see if Jaclo wins. Lovely rollout. We got someone who knows how to play Spider-Man. Can they get an early pickup? An isolation onto someone. Up high. Gets the Tracer. Good damage output. Dagger Storm, though, going to keep them topped up, so we'll just back away. Moves on in, though. Z Cotton is down, and they wipe the Blondes. Taking every blonde character off the board there. Now they're getting everyone else as well. They made a fantastic adjustment here. A lot of that job, though, was done by No Way on this Magneto. Absolutely incredible rollout with just an aggressive push for the setup onto the point. And Zephyr, already an infinite improvement on their first round setup as they've actually got some percentage on the board. Bucklo wins on the wraparound. Gets the Tracer onto Hella. That's a fantastic pickup. Couldn't get a single pickup really onto Hella in that first round. And this time, they're easily turning this round. Spectacular spin. Invisible Boundary comes on down, but it's not enough to protect Smiley, who goes on down. And Spider-Man is able to retreat. Coming back in. Not able to find the Tracer this time. So we'll just make their way up to the high ground. Wait for those cooldowns to come back. Sliver trying to snipe him on the way through. And this is the issue of playing Hella. They are very vulnerable. This is why you often see them played with like an Invisible Woman. Potentially Guardian Barrier. That's exactly what we saw there. Keeping Sliver topped up. Here comes Galactic Legend though. Snipe him out the sky. Could be huge, but can't get a finishing blow. Forced into that Goddess of Death. They took a little bit too much damage. Sieging on in, but we still saw that Star-Lord taken on out. Agamotto going to be coming out into the backline as we are seeing Harrow getting sieged off the board here. Damage output came in, but Spider-Man once again comes back onto the point. And they are going to stagger this Emma Frost, making it so that she's completely disjointed from the rest of her team, meaning that Zephyr have a potential numbers advantage in a fight. Ducklo gets ambushed from the side, though, forced to back away. Gala has Dance of the Butterfly. Might need to use it to get onto the point here, to at least open up for their team. Sonic Stealth. Dance of the Butterfly onto the point. Maximum damage, but the team is grouped up. They find nothing. Go for the clone to try and give a little bit of extra damage output to try and also create a distraction. Eternal Bond comes on in from Pam Pam. They've managed to get onto Akcha, which means the damage output from Zephyr is kind of non-existent right now. Connor keeping the team topped up. Guardian Barrier just making sure the Sliver is protected. But here comes Doctor Strange doing some solid damage output. Sentry sets them up nicely, but it is going to be Harrow that finally take that fight. Spider-Man, focus down, swing it away. You can see Hella trying to give chase. But it's 99 to 13% right now in favor of Zephyr, with Harrow holding the point. Now Zephyr, all they need to do is to regroup, make their way back in. Spider-Man needs to get topped up again as Hella landing a shot or two. Look at that reaction time. Knows where Spider-Man is, just trying to keep a bead on him, keep that tracking going. Into the back line. Ooh, lovely force physics. Is it enough? Yes, it is. The turnaround with Bela finding the final hit. Silent Seduction, trying to get onto those frontline members to lock them down. Isn't enough, but it does zone them off the point, at least for the moment. Carbon Crush onto Doctor Strange with that crystal kick, forcing out the Cloak of Levitation. There's no way. He got isolated alone and taken down. Harrow are turning this round right now. Zephyr can't seem to get back onto the points once they've lost it. There is a spectacular spin for Spider-Man. So they have an engage tool. They have Agamotto. If they can set this up, they need to force out that metallic curtain. Or get the pickup, forcing out an iron bulwark. Dance of the Butterfly into the back line. Spectacular spins being held as Dance of the Butterfly is once again being countered by an incredibly grouped up members. Here comes that spectacular spin. Takes out the Invisible Woman, but they can't find much else. The Sliver takes to the sky with that Goddess of Death being blocked out by the Zephyr Barrier. Forced to use the Astral Flock. Taken down by that Blaster Barrage of Akcha. They're turning this round. I have Agamotto, but it's going to be blocked out by Harrow Media. M completely finds nothing. Galactic Legend buying so much damage, takes out Smiley. Harrow getting forced off the point. The Invisible Boundary is keeping the team topped up, but they can't seem to hold this for long enough. Portal comes back in, giving the reinforcements from Sliver, moving off of the Hella so they can just get their team onto the point here. As overtime's ticking down, currently in control of Harrow. If Zephyr lose too many members, this is Harrow delaying as long as they can, keeping the control. Smiley has returned on Rocket for a faster rollout here. We're starting to see the numbers for Zephyr falling. The bar is ticking up. Cotton falls, but they just can't sustain. No way is down. Zenri is down. Carbon Crush, Crystal Kick. And they just don't have the bodies for the point. They're trying to delay this, but that is going to be Harrow taking map number 1. Nicely done. Much closer than the first round. That second round came back, and we almost saw Zephyr able to make their way in for the objective this time, but it's still going to be Harrow who take control and will take the first map in this best of 5. Now, let's see what else they can do. Sorry, just responding to a message that came through quite urgently. Alrighty, so we're looking at these final statistics here. We're looking at 21 as the top KOs. Least amount of times getting taken out is also going to be Nev. 21 and 2 here. Nicely done. With second highest final hits behind IX9 and Gala. Top damage. Quite close between the two teams, actually. It will be Sliver who snipes it at the end there with 17k, 1k more than IX9. And a solid 2k more than Zenri. Top damage blocked. 23k, beat 18k, 29k for Zenri on that Doctor Strange. Really putting out some solid damage output, doing as well for their team as they could. This Star-Lord, though, wasn't able to find as much as they would like. It got 12k damage, which is good, but getting taken out 9 times. You gotta wonder, would it have been worth picking something that's a little more stable? Something like, for example, if you're not going to run that triple res composition, while Star-Lord can be good, it means you have 2 dive characters being set up here. Potentially something like a Punisher could have turned that round if it wasn't banned out, so you've got to look for something with a Soldier's banned out. Your options are quite low here. Torch is banned. A lot of the sustained damage dealers are actually kind of removed here. Huh. Very interesting. This might have just been a really solid draft output for Harrow. Either way, we're going to get set up for map number 2, ladies and gentlemen. As a reminder, I am in half darkness because the infernal sun orb is out and it is making this room very hot. So I'm refusing to turn on the studio lights because it would make it even hotter. So no, thank you from me. Thank you for your time and your attention to the matter. We're heading to map number 2. It looks like we're heading to Hall of Jalia as our second map. My computer is struggling to load in the heat, so give it a moment. Hopefully it doesn't crash. It has done that in the past when it gets too hot. So hopefully you're alright. But we're going to be heading into Hall of Jalia for our second map. And we are starting off with defense for Harrow and attack for Zephyr. Convergence is the name of the game. Ultron will be the first removed, and we will once again see the Human Torch taken out of action. And this time, Harrow will not be missing their ban. They will take out the Emma Frost, ensuring that they get that good protection option. Winter Soldier, this time, going to be protected, and they ban out the Psylocke. Mila, some great pressure onto the backline. So they're going to take that one out nice and quickly. Hela will be protected, a little bit of burst damage. Groot removed. But the Punisher still left available, so Zephyr could give themselves a little bit of a sustain that way as well. Although the Winter Soldier will fit that job fairly well, so they don't have to worry about it as much this time. Spider-Man will be protected. It was the better choice there after their first initial engage. That Iron Fist did get focused down. The Spider-Man did a much better job of dealing with those backline members. It's a bit of a rarer option, but it did work out. I'm quite surprised we're not seeing something like a Venom. Again, normally when you see one backline diver, you'll kind of see two. This will usually be a Vanguard and a duelist together. You'll often see a Venom plus a Psylocke, or a Captain America plus a Psylocke, and you'll see them working together to try and set up. But in this case, they're going to be sticking with double standard frontline and allowing Spider-Man to do the job themselves. Venom Spider-Man would of course be very scary and would give Spider-Man an invulnerability to get out of danger. But we're not going to worry about that this time. Sticking a little more standard. Heading on in, Harrow on the defense. They are going to be moving over to that Punisher that was not banned out this time. You can't hook Punisher out of a culling turret. Nice rotation.
We'll be coming in 30 seconds. Stay strong.
So Zephyr, they are starting on that rocket. This is going to be for a little bit of armor, a little bit of extra protection that way. Oh yeah, my computer is hard. You can see how long stuff's taking to load. Let's see how Zephyr can do in this round number 2. Can they bring this back? Winter Soldier as the initial rollout. Are they going for a portal play? Looks like yes. There is no counter portal. Where's this portal going? Dead center! That is risky, but they get the early pickup on Cotton. Finding the pickup, they get Gala and Zephyr with the aggression here. Sliver goes down. They lost Akja once again, but this is Zephyr. Hyper momentum. Cleaning up here. The board is removed. They get onto Emma, and that is a cleanup. Portal being forced out by Cotton. Interrupt. Oh, just not in time. They very nearly were able to get that interrupt onto the portal to stop it from coming out. And as such, the point is being defended. Harrow were able to get back in time to try and stop Zephyr. 3 minutes to go, and that point is almost captured. Spider-Man catching people on the rotation, removing the Punisher. The portal expired. They stopped them making their way through, making their way back to the point. Into the back line. Retreated, dropped low, just missing a couple of the swings, but still able to make it out on time. But in the meantime, the rest of their team is finally getting taken out. They're unable to sustain for the entire time. No way. Holding for as long as they can. Need to get in range of Pam Pam, who's keeping the healing up and going. They have the invisible boundary, but they want to make sure everyone is here and topped up before they go for a hard commit. And it looks like we will see the retreat forced out of Zephyr as Harrow, with that portal, able to sustain, but they lost 2/3 of the point. Now they're trying to play a little bit more aggressive. Don't want to get caught out again. In the meantime, Spider-Man is still Spider-Manning. Up and around. Using these melees to control the movement of Spider-Man. Control where they stop. Ayamakamoto coming on out. Media Rep does not find the target. The invisible boundary. Keeping the team topped up at least for the moment. Pam Pam's going to try and turn this around. Counter Ayamakamoto coming in from Senri with Kraken Impact to follow up. But Fate of Both Worlds is starting to delay this beautiful turnaround there. As Galactic Legend comes in from Gala, swapping off the Punisher onto the Star-Lord of their own. But taken out by Spider-Man, who gets bodied by Sliver. Sliver, by the way, playing a strategist this time due to the fact that one of their strategists had to swap to Vanguard to bring them back to the fighting time. So currently they're on triple Vanguard dual strategist with one of their main duelists playing Luna Snow, a character with a hit scan with that shift and solid damage output. So a very safe character to pick, meaning that Gala is currently solo duelisting and is dueling Spider-Man using invulnerability frames in order to get out of danger without taking all that burst damage. Nicely done. For the back line, not landed the Tracer, gets a great knock-up, but not enough for a finishing blow. Spectacular spin out the ready, but they want to force out these defensive abilities first. I need their team to do that. Coming in, onto Sliver, looking for the blow up. Spectacular spin, defense, dagger storm, but it's enough to take down Smiley. Bila falls, IX9 falls, and it looks like Harrow are going to get blasted off the point this time.
Double KO.
That is a full team-wide Bila back on the Punisher, knowing that there is a high ground out here where they can try and defend using the zip line. On top of this building to the right is the usual setup position. They don't want to get caught out of position. They heard it. They heard the spider. What a reaction. Zip line in 4 seconds, so we'll likely see them try to rotate up to the building on the right of them. But first, just dealing with some targeted zoning. They see Spider-Man. Punish him. Don't let him keep moving. Every time Spider-Man shows up, they should be taking damage. That's why Namor is so effective. Nice! Dark Force teleport to get out of danger, but Bila is still going to fall. Media M coming in from Nev as they drop low, crack and impact for the attempt at the turnaround, but they're able to take them down. But this is still Harrow getting absolutely wiped off the board. Spider-Man in the 1v1 with Magneto takes them down. And this is Zephyr. Completely different team to that round number 1. They are suddenly in absolutely insane form. Cleaning off the board right here. Hitting point number 2 just 62 centimeters away. Goddess of Death taken to the sky to try and burst on through, but made of both worlds. Damage output, healing output, just too much. Now Sliver's all on their own, and point 2 has already been grabbed.
We've got a statue to deliver. Let's get it there.
This is so fast as well, Zephyr. They still got 3 minutes remaining. We're waiting to see if Bila swaps off, and they will onto the Winter Soldier. No Way and Senray leading the charge. IX9 trying to create an opening. You see, playing a little bit over to the right to make some room for their team if they make their way out of that doorway. But in the meantime, Spider-Man already takes out Connor, goes down to Sliver. Silent Seduction will not be enough to pick anyone off, but they've already moved their way in with that great setup with the Eternal Bond from Cloak and Dagger. No Way goes down. IX9 chasing deep. Gets pick up number 2, number 3. Looking for number 4. Pam Pam Dark Force teleport through the doorway into the spawn. And IX9 cannot safely chase any further. Diamond form to make sure they get out. Realizing they may have overextended. Black Panther has come on in. Juggalo wins, showing a little bit of the backline dive potential. Tried the Iron Fist, tried the Spider-Man, now the Black Panther. They are certainly a diver merchant. Spider Cook comes on out. Does not land, but that's still good damage coming out of Bila. Nice Trooper's Fist, locking down Jacklo. A great reason why you should play Winter Soldier into some of these dives sometimes. The more also going to be extremely effective. Media M from No Way. Dark Force teleport predicted. Takes out Connor and Sliver. And the team is getting wiped off the board. And Zephyr continue their momentum as they're pushing on into point number 3. This is a devastating push right now. Back to Spider-Man. Roll out faster. Get onto the point. Keep the irritation up. This is a strong performance. Hi, Vagamoto. Ooh, the lockdown with the snowball to get the stun out. Forgot the word freeze and stun there, so I just panicked. Smiley making their way in. Eternal Bond for the setup. Waiting for that Terror Cape for a little bit of damage. Boost for their team with the vulnerability on the opponent's Dark Force teleport up to the high ground. Fade of both worlds for a little bit of extra time as Sliver is once again being blocked out by that Zephyr barrier from Doctor Strange. Soul Drainer to hold the tanks in place. Trooper's Fist is enough of a setup, and they are starting to burn through Zephyr. And it looks like Harrow might be able to hold for at least a little bit longer, but Zephyr, they're likely going to have another portal. They do in fact have portal. It is off cooldown, and they've got 30 seconds remaining. They can now make their way in on foot and try and hold overtime, but here's the risk. They now have Strange with Vagamoto in the play. If they were to swap off Strange to allow someone else to pick Strange later, if what the first person to get taken down, so they had a reinforcement, then they'd lose this Eye of Agamotto. If Strange does not get picked up, like right now, then Crack and Impact can wipe the entire team, and no one's going to have a portal to come back. If they stagger Strange, it could be huge. Resembre is going to get taken down, but with 1 second remaining, it's all up now. 2 of the people on the point. Ark just rushing in. Pam Pam's trying to make their way in, but no one is close. And that's what happens when you roll in with a Strange. The Eye of Agamotto is so strong, though. It's that gamble of, do you think you can get that Eye of Agamotto off in time? Or do you allow your team to play Strange if you get taken out? This can allow your team to portal in even if you're still up. It's the gamble that so many teams take. And in this case, it did not pay off for Zephyr. As herr0 are able to hold. But Zephyr, what a push. Again, a completely different team to what we saw in that first round. Now it is herr0's time to push. Are they going to be able to out-push Zephyr, who are sticking with Spider-Man? Going all in on harassment. Now, we did see, thanks to Ignite, that there is a rollout strat you can do on this map, where you play as Spider-Man, flick someone off the map with your hook, and then you can swap to Venom. If you purposefully fall off the map with them, then you can swap to Venom and still make it back to the objective into... Oh my god, wait! No way! Okay, hold up. Hold up. I am not letting that get... I'm not letting them get away with that. Hold up. We need to see what happened. Someone got mined. Someone fell for a spawn mine, and I am making sure we see it. I am not letting that pass. So they've been sieging the mine different spawn. They can see the circle.
I see you. I think to myself.
They've got popped by it. Bila with the penny strats.
This is gonna hurt.
We don't see it often, but the fact is it can work. Once they swap off, though, they will lose it. If they get caught again, Bila's gonna have to swap off penny, so they're probably not gonna get caught by it. Yep, there we go. No one else is gonna go down to it. Here's Spider-Man. Did it get him off? Got him! That is crazy. But of course, Jacklo, they prefer playing these backline divers, so they made sure that they survived the engage instead of going for the more Ignite style strategy of getting the flick off the map and then swapping to a Venom to make it back to the point with a Vanguard. But that is a big early game pickup. No, wait, already back though. Never. Finally arriving back to their team, as they were the one who was pulled off the map. Not no way, my apologies. Never pushing up. Magnetic barrier, creating an opening, protecting their backline. Beautiful bionic hook. Trying to get onto that Winter Soldier as they're in full retreat. Archer barely escaping this time. Bila trying to get some shots onto that red menace, onto the Spider-Man. I want headshots on Spider-Man. Making their way onto the point. Bila. So much damage output and playing very evasively. Lovely shots onto Spider-Man, and that is going to be a big pickup. First point. Who has Portal? Archer didn't swap. Pampa didn't swap. Sentry swaps. But I don't know if they make it in time. Okay, the Eternal Bond to make sure that they have time for the portal. Pampa's dropping low. Trying to make their way in with the reinforcement. Spectacular spin for an extra delay. This is Zephyr basically committing everything to this fight. But herr0, they're getting wiped off the point. It might be working. The Eternal Bond comes on out to keep Never in this fight as IX9 is running back to spawn. They were thinking about swapping to Strange, but they've decided against it. They're just going to regroup, as that is Zephyr with the defense, 2/3 and a hold. They're going to wait for Nev, but they're still going to make their way onto this lower point. At least start the pressure onto Zephyr once again. Jacob, again, dropped incredibly low. It seems herr0 really starting to get locked in on the Spider-Man.
Much better.
You see Bila watching the sky. They are prepared for the Spider-Man. Here comes Sliver on the flank with the Goddess of Death. Takes down Archer. Lovely pickup by Harrow. Spider-Man trying to make something happen. Eye of Agamotto from Senri. Interrupted. They got the Eye of Agamotto off, but they are locked down before any follow-up can come on in as Vila with that Kraken impact gets reset number 1. But with that Eternal Bond going, they're going to try and delay this out for as long as possible before they send in the second. Spider-Man would be a beautiful target. Trooper's Fist. Kraken impact at the last possible second before it resets. They get that Iron Bulwark. Trying to get onto the high ground members, but it's going to be Senri will be forced off the point. But while this fight is happening, that will be secured by Harrow as they grab point number 1. No Way tried to Venom to reinforce, but could not make it in time. They'll now just be going back, but don't make it before the swap. Oh no! They now have to run all the way back, or swing all the way back, or just stay on Venom for a bit. This would give Spider-Man, of course, that team-up ability, so they'd get that little bit of extra vulnerability for a second. I'll be disengaged there. No Way swapping off. Did they lose that team up? Am I forgetting something here? Because I did not see the animations of like Spider-Man having that team up. Ooh, the snowball onto Spider-Man. Picked on up on that rotation. Trying to take the duel, but this is a convincing fight. Harrow doing their best Zephyr impression are just dominating one fight after another at this point. Keeping the pressure on Sliver up to the high ground to keep that push going. And yeah, I stand corrected. It turns out that they lost that team up. I'd completely forgotten about that. My apologies for misleading your team. Spider-Man's only team up right now is with the Squirrel Girl, and Venom's only team up is with Jeff. A team up that I don't think I've literally ever seen.
I suppose that helps.
IX9 zoning away any of the defenders. They land it, and that is both the strategists in serious danger. Zephyr's strategist getting isolated completely. And with that, Harrow continuing to make an opening. You can see they're so aware right now that Spider-Man is still here. Sliver just keeping eyes on the sky.
Or is that Emperor now?
Sending in some shots. Jucklo swinging back to their team. A little bit of Dagger Storm for a top-up. Not all the way, though. Coming on in. They get locked out. Have to go into the spectacular spin, but snowballs. That is a bionic hook, and that's the turnaround. Here comes Pam Pam, trying to get out of danger. Dark Falls teleport up to the high ground, which means they did get their Eternal Bond off without getting punished. Kraken impact, but Archer sniped out the sky by Sliver. Vila is not so unlucky, making their way in. Trooper's Fist trying to get to the back line with the magnetic bulwark. The Iron Bulwark, sorry, gonna get that protection. They get the pickup. Black Panther coming in for the quick burst. Reset City to try and get this push going and shut it down. But Zephyr, they lose one more with Jacklo down. It is Harrow with their push on the aggression, looking to get the triple cap. The Zephyr couldn't get Fate of both worlds for the delay. Senri with the Eye of Agamotto will be moving in for the flank. A little bit of pressure, a little bit of poke. You can see Harrow taking their time.
I am ready to
Fate of both worlds. Psionic Seduction for the early setup. Going to be sending in that Goddess of Death, Media M. Harrow are burning everything right now. They are committed to this. Eye of Agamotto comes on down. It's enough for at least a little bit of crowd control, but not enough for anything else. Spider-Man can't even reach the point in time. That is going to be the triple cap coming in from Harrow, and they are now 2-0 up in this series. Zephyr, they're creeping so close to getting these maps every time. They're just getting better and better as we see them. But Harrow just keep getting past them every time and are now one game away from moving on to that final 8. Is there anything that Zephyr can do to turn this round? Archer, by the way, was on the Spider-Man at the end, trying to get that fast rollout speed. Top KOs. 2 players, IX9 and Sliver, with 40 KOs. Final hits, 23 though for Sliver. 23 and 6, or 40 and 6, depending on which stat you want to use. An incredible matchup. Almost double anyone else in the game. The only person who they're not double on the enemy team is Juggalo, who went 14 and 14, or 28 and 14. They got 14 final hits, which is basically all the stuff that Spider-Man does, really, and got taken out 14 times, going exactly even. Is that the stat you want? I feel like Harrow kind of have this Spider-Man down now. They're reacting to it. The Hella and the Winter Soldier. They've got the crowd control. They're turning it round. Now, Hella in particular, like we say, 23 and 6. Mila did struggle a little bit more, 12 and 10. But it did the job. Top damage output, 27k for IX9. That Emma Frost, it's very strong. And top damage absorbed will be Senri. 49k. Incredible amount of damage block. 13k more than Nev, the highest on the side of Harrow. And they got taken out the same amount of times as well. Very nicely done. Top healing, 44k for Pam Pam. Trying to keep their team topped up. Did a great job, even though one of their duelists was just constantly not there, so they had less people to heal. But also that means less people for the enemy to consistently damage. Alright, that's game number 2. Let me get us set up for map number 3. Will this be the final map, or will we be heading to a map number 5? I have a message. Ah, one of my reports finally went through. Alright, neat. Alright. Pacific. Round 10. And there we go. Map 3. Hell's Heaven. We're going back to domination. My hair has just become fluffier and fluffier as the game has gone on. Good heavens. That's the heat for you. It is warm here today. The sun is shining. And I am melting. Let's head on into map number 3. What could be the last one if Harrow are able to bring it home? Or will Zephyr be taking us to a map number 4? We will have to see. First man for Zephyr. Ultron taken out this time. Not going for any target bans after what Harrow has been using so far. There goes the Human Torch. We're getting very heavy on the flyers. IX9 started with a bit of a disconnect, but seems to be back. There's that Emma Frost, protected once again. IX9 has kind of been dominant on it, so a very reasonable ban. The Groot. Protected for Zephyr. Gonna try and mix it up. They've got Licio coming back in here. And the Hella. Bad out. We saw so much effective play from Sliver. They've decided that it's just not worth it. Give Juggalo a little bit more freedom by taking away the thing that's been sniping them. Soul Drainer stopping the moving, the pickups. It's been extremely effective so far. Wolverine taken out of play with that Groot on the board. This means Groot's a lot more free, but there is at least a Punisher. Very solid damage output, extremely good at melting through those walls. That's going to be the Magneto as the protection. And Psylocke will be removed, so we're not going to get the full mutant team up. And Harrow with the final ban here. Take out the Lunar Snow. Has been a very dominant fixture in these games, but this does mean that Loki is available for either team if they were to want it. They could get double Eternal Bonds here. But they're sticking so far. Zephyr with Cloak and Dagger and Invisible Woman. Harrow, though, Smiley sees the Loki available and is a little bit pleased. So they are going to go for that double Eternal Bonds. Sliver, with Hella removed, they look for the Storm damage boost onto Bila on that Punisher. Not going to be running a Groot of their own. They see Zephyr doing it, and they're just going to pick stuff to counter it. I like the idea. As much as I do like seeing Groot in play, this might work better for them. I apologize if I'm a little more nasalier than usual today. This hay fever is absolutely kicking my ass.
Well, the mutant goddess of Krakoa.
Let's see who is able to take this map number 3. Will Zephyr be able to bring it back? Spider-Man gonna be stuck with this time. They've removed what they think is the problem. Storm does not really have as many tools to deal with Spider-Man, but they do have that quick lightning strike for a little bit of bonus damage. And Gala does have that shotgun. If they see Spider-Man nearby, it's going to take basically one shot to the face to take him down, especially with the damage boost from Storm. They're going for that early rollout. Spider-Man, Juggalo already coming in.
Watch out, they're headed our way.
Sees the team. Sliver, can Sliver see him? Ooh, may have just caught a quick loss. Now they've definitely seen him. In comes Spider-Man for the backline. There's that lightning strike. Punish them as they go in. Straight onto the backline. Groot is launched into the air, trying to get the targeting, but there is the advantage. Storm does not really have a counter into outside of that lightning for Spider-Man. If Spider-Man latches on, they can't exactly dash away. Nice setup from Spider-Man there, but the regen domain is going to be a punishment. There is a counter. And it's still going to be Harrow that take the first control here on Hell's Heaven. Trying to go to Licio. Removing those group walls. Getting a lot of damage output. Strategist having to work at extra time here. Here comes the culling turret. Blown up immediately. Finds nothing, but down goes Spider-Man. Sliver able to get a little bit of a counter blow as they're staying low near to their teammates in case a regen domain comes out, which it is going to come in here. Here comes the silent seduction for IX9 to follow up with the final judgment, but it's too much. Taken down as it's Chris came in for Terror Cape, setting up for Groot to do a lot of damage to get the finishing blow as the Omega Hurricane to try and turn this fight around to even it up, and it is working. Sliver gets one, looks for second. They try to chase off the group, but the healing output again is extremely high. Group walls buying space. Spider-Man comes in, straggling prison, Kraken impact for Archer, but no resets are found. They retreat up to the high ground, but they don't seem to be able to get the counter pickups. They get onto Conan though, finally finding these finishing blows. As Emma will fall, IX9 finally gets isolated and picked off. Bionic Hook not coming out, they just get punished. They stepped out a bit too far, down goes Sliver. Bila dropping low, Spider-Man wants the shots. Trades out the shotgun, will be forced to swing away, and Nev gets the final blow, and it will be Harrow who hold on. Throughout all of that, all of those pickups that Zephyr were able to get, they just can't seem to keep the control as Harrow on 85% already. Ultimate Economy though, Meteor M and Spectacular Spin. This is the opportunity for Zephyr to make something happen before anything charges up for Harrow. Juggalo sees the group of enemies. Going on in. Regeneration Domain. Spectacular Spin will be able to burst through those, but it's not enough to get the finishing blow. And everyone from Harrow is surviving. IX9 will finally fall as they portaled in. Omega Hurricane for an attempt at the turnaround. Is there enough protection? Eternal Bond comes on out. The damage output. They move into their own team's backline for the protection, but Smiley will fall. Juggalo is turning this around, and this is going to be Harrow. Forced off the point. Zephyr take control. 99 to 19 as Harrow forced back to spawn Zephyr. Now need to hold for a full cap essentially. IX9 trying to lead the charge. Stuck with this Doctor Strange. They're building up towards that Eye of Agamotto. Cotton taken down. They tried to Eternal Bond and they got punished midway through it. In the Harrow are now down a member, straggling prison. Zephyr in barrier, Kraken impact for Archer. And we're going to see Harrow sent back to spawn again.
Their team's capture progress has passed.
What a blow up. Spider-Man even ran all the way back to spawn to punish them. There was a mag cannon. Looking to see if there's any more portals coming in. Or pull someone off the edge. Juggalo gets away. Keeping the pressure on, not giving them room to breathe. IX9 pulled out of position, has the separate barrier, getting healed up. Very charged up on that price of magic, will be forced to use that Maelstrom of Madness so they can get out of danger and get that healing output reduction removed. Lovely Dark Force Terraport, a good sidestep from Bila as they make their way in, but they're down Sliver already. Counter Media M pushing on in, Eye of Agamotto, Dark Force Teleport is able to prevent it as they just need to now win this fight, and they're slowly bursting on through. No way is dropping low as Jackalow going to be coming into the backline. Has a spectacular spin, getting their vision reduced by that Scourge Grenade. Spectacular spin to try and take it solo. It's a clean up from Jackalow as overtime ticks on down and Zephyr take a round in this game finally. What a turnaround. They needed that so bad. That was a 100-0 turnaround coming in from the members of Zephyr. What an incredible play. Just so important, so needed.
30 seconds before you attack. Get ready.
How do we see Harrow adjust? How do they turn this around? Because Zephyr, they're back in it.
In that we are both despised by the people we strive to protect and lead.
Is there anything else they could do?
The battle starts in 5, 4, 3.
So far, no compositional adjustments. Both these teams still confident in their setups that these will be the ones that will allow them to turn this round, for Harrow to close out the series, for Zephyr to get themselves back into it. Making their way in. Gala on the high ground. Culling turret already taking a lot of damage. But finds Aegis, buys them at least a little bit of time. Group all above them. Making it very hard to stand there. They're forced to back away at least a little bit. Zephyr keeping the pressure on. Here comes the Eternal Bond from above to push on in. They're committing to this. Nev takes down Jackalow as they make their way into the backline to burst them down. This is Harrow with hyper momentum. They just got essentially a full team wipe. It's Chris is able to get out of danger without getting picked off. But that was a dominant fight coming in for Harrow. But 95% of the way towards Kraken Impact, 95% of the way towards Straggling Prison. Building up these ultimates, 61 to Invisible Boundary, 66 to Eternal Bond. On the other side for Harrow, they've got Omega Hurricane, they nearly have Final Judgment, and they nearly have that Psionic Seduction. 64% of the way towards the God of Mischief, very far away for Cotton, as in comes that Omega Hurricane, Straggling Prison for the turnaround, meaning the Sliver is just basically diving the backline solo here and is almost punished for it. In the meantime, Kraken Impact came on out, but it was not enough. That is Harrow with another convincingly won fight. Dominant positioning, taking control, looking to put some pressure on the backline. Here comes the Culling turret once again with a Mind's Aegis for a defensive setup. So much damage on approach, making it so hard to get in there. Jackalow tries to dive the backline using some group walls for some escape and some cover as they're dropped low. Final Judgment with Psionic Seduction to try and prevent any turnaround. Goodbye, Spidey! And they're trying to get onto that Eternal Bond, but it's not enough. That is a great pickup. Smiley with that Eternal Bond on the clone for the turnaround to keep the members of Harrow topped up in this fight. Sliver takes out one, takes out two. They're essentially having to solo duelist this as they do not have Bela. Straggling Prison, but a beautiful magnet iron bulwark for the protection. Sliver is sustaining on through with the Eternal Bond. The Magneto and the Cloak and Dagger keep them topped up even through the spectacular spin of Spider-Man. And Zephyr are forced off the point. This is one of Spider-Man's best maps. It's all about pulling people off the edge, but they just cannot do it alone. If all the attention's on them, they are forced to back away on 4 HP. One more hit, but they just cannot even get to the point. What a setup. We are 1-1. If Harrow can take control, then it could be all over already. If Zephyr, though, can take this one last matchup, then they may be able to turn this round.
30 seconds before you
We'll have to
attack.
see if they're able to do so, as they are already creeping their way back in. But this was Harrow locking in on that last fight. Omega Hurricane at the ready.
Careful. There are some forces that even I
Everything
can't
else
alter.
a little bit further away. Kraken Impact is going to be the next closest. going to be a rough setup,
Do is capture the
but they're
mission
going to
area.
commit,
Got it?
going in for this aggressive push. No portals, no rotations to high grounds to try and defend. Everyone is just going main entrance for a fight. Except for one person, as J-Clo is, of course, on Black Panther this time. Swapping out the Spider-Man. Always something in the back line. Bela culling turret. Melding on through. Immediately you can see J-Clo pushing on through. Scourge Grenade makes it much harder for them to see. They're forced to disengage right away, but it's not enough as their team gets wiped off the board here. They're trying to dive the backline, and once again, numbers advantage. Harrow with the Omega Hurricane being dropped, take control again. And now J-Clo, not exactly where they want to be, gets caught by the Terracate, forced to back up, tracks down, grabs the map heal. But they're completely closed in. They're getting completely surrounded. Run! Not able to get out in time, and it's Smiley who picks that up.
Let my enemies tremble.
The pressure, the pressure on. Root wall going to be set up. Bela says he does not care. That is the final judgment. Groot is down. Regen domain for at least a little bit of a delay, but it's getting completely melted. Forced all the way back to spawn. That is going to be Harrow. Keeping control, already up to 46%. There was an attempt at a back cap from J-Clo, but it was caught. So the timer continues to tick up for Harrow. Hamhammer's gone for a clone. Need to wait for that map to finish transforming. 8 seconds left. Making their way in. Smiley with the exact same on the other side for the openers. Media M for No Way. Wants to try and get cloned, but it's not in time. Straggling Prison comes on in, catches everyone of Harrow. They're going to try and sustain on through this with Silent Seduction for the turnaround. Constant is the only one to fall. Crack and Impact looking for a reset. Finds a Loki clone so they can keep this going. Finds a real Loki. Smiley is down. There goes Dev, and it's finally going to be a fight one for Zephyr as Akja finds reset after reset. They clean the board
Control lost.
at 87%. Zephyr are back in it.
Any healing is good healing.
Try to push up. Harrow looking for an opening. They have a Mega Hurricane. They have a Turtle Bomb. Taking a little bit of damage. A Mega Hurricane is going to be burned quite early in this fight. Into the backline. Trying to take out that Winter Soldier, taking him off the board nice and early. But now Sliver is leading the charge, but they're able to retreat immediately into that Eternal Bond to keep themselves topped up as the final judgment is melted. J-Clo with the fastest set may have just saved their team the game as the burst damage sets up for enough for their team to get the finishing blows. Even through all of that healing, they turn it round. Harrow.
Their team's capture progress is past the halfway.
It's only 50% for Zephyr, so they have one more push potentially. But Aliso has that straggling prison. They have Media M, and Kraken Impact is already nearly charged again. Trooper's Fist trying to get onto the Magneto. They take them down. Nev removed from the board, but J-Clo goes down to change. It's a 1-for-1. Smiley setting them up with a God of Mischief Eternal Bond. Doesn't want to go in too far. Set them up. You can see the Loki Firing Squad up on the high ground. Doctor Strange swapped to by Nev to make sure that they can reinforce. That timer is starting to run on down. It's Chris with their own Eternal Bond. Akja is the one to fall. Sliver is taking them down as they move in with the Omega Hurricane again to move into the back line, and they clean them up. Akja has swapped to Strange. They know they have to reinforce because that timer is ticking down. They buy as much time as possible for their team to respawn. J-Clo is low. They have to make sure that they step onto this point. They've touched it, so overtime, but they need to make sure that they stay on it. Final judgment burning through. It's Chris, No Way, Akja, Licio, and that is going to be an absolute massacre. The bodies hit the floor, no one is touching, and Harrow take the map and will be moving on to that round of 8. Zephyr still in, but they'll be heading down to the lower bracket. What a match! Zephyr showing so much potential, but herr0, when they had control, they never let it go. They just pushed on in. It was only when Zephyr were able to get early grabs that they seemed to be able to put up the fight. And as such, herr0, from OCE, the team that nearly made it into Ignite, will be continuing their journey through the MRC. Let me have a look. What's the highest position a ANZ team and OCE team in MRC is finished? Let me check that quickly. Because I know there's like been some representatives, but we're looking for like the actual finish. So yeah, herr0 are in the final 8 at minimum. So the lowest they can score is 8. Okay, Season 1. Influencer G had 2 Australian players, and they did extremely well. They got to the final 6 before getting knocked out. But again, that's not a full team. Kanga Esports also got to a final 8. So they've mirrored that. And then Ground Zero, I believe, did quite well. Okay, so Kanga Esports and Muddog both made it to the final 6. And in fact, Muddog made it to the final 1, 2, 3, 4. Final 4. Very nice. So the highest position that at least primarily, or at least half Australian, New Zealand team, OCE team, half of their players, with Revsy, IX9, hello IX9, and JMac, the highest position they have managed to finish is 4th. herr0 are now a few games away from being able to match that. Potentially even surpass that. Kanga Esports, Muddog, Ground Zero Gaming, Influencer G. These are all names that have lived in the history book when it comes to OCE players. Will they be able to surpass them? As right now, they're keeping this journey going very effectively. 15 final hits, 32 eliminations. At least amount of times getting taken out will be it's Chris, only going down 5 times. Nicely done. Top damage, 29k for Bila. Just beating out Sliver. Despite the consistent Omega Hurricanes, the final judgments do pip over the edge. Top damage blocked. 59k. Licio against a Punisher. They took so much damage. Went down 9 times, which is still less than Akja. A little bit more, though, than No Way. But they tried their best. They gave it everything they could, even though they were in a matchup that is sometimes not so much favored by the Groot. And top healing. 44k for It's Chris. They went down the least. They had the most healing. It makes sense. But that's it. I hope you all enjoyed today's video. I certainly enjoyed bringing it to you. And a reminder that if you do enjoy these games, then you can like the video, comment on the video, subscribe to the video, ring that bell so you can see, subscribe to the channel, sorry, so you can see when my casts go up, when the news goes up, and when I put up, anything else that I decide to make. You can also support by watching these videos with your ad blocker off, which helps out. YouTube doesn't pay out much, but hey, every little helps. Or you can become a member like these wonderful people, Arso, Doki Pokey, and John. Thank you all very much for your support. When you become a member, you get your name shouted out, and you get early access to videos, as well as sometimes behind-the-scenes stuff if I get to do LAN. For now, though, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've all enjoyed today's video. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow.